Welcome to the Money Over 50 podcast, brought to you by Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue from Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. This information is general in nature and does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Therefore, you should consider whether the information is appropriate for you and your personal circumstances. If you require personal advice, please contact Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. Here are your hosts, Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue.
Welcome to Money Over 50 with Dallas and Michael. Dallas, your topic today is if the price of avocados goes down, I buy twice as many.
Thanks,
now,
Michael.
I know where you're heading with this.
You know
just tell me what you.
But you also think it's fundamentally flawed because you don't think I do.
So, if I buy an avocado and I eat half of it, I watch the other half deteriorate in front of my eyes. Like they basically go bad within half a day. It's one of those things that are
to give people a peek behind the curtain here. I suggested this topic to Michael, and he said, "I know exactly what you mean, but that is just fundamentally a flawed argument." So I'm here arguing on the side of why I do this, and Michael's here arguing against it. Now,
I suppose you can have avocados at different stages, so you wouldn't be able to buy. Wouldn't be able to buy avocados of the same ripeness.
No.
You'd have to buy them at all different stages.
So where I'm going with this, I know your fear is any of these podcasts becoming like an SBS movie with no ending, so I'll jump to the ending. The point I'm making here is that in every other area of our life, when the price of something goes down, we use that as a signal to go, I'll have twice as many of them. The price is down. They're still just as inherently desirable as what they were before the price went down. Yep. Why wouldn't I use this opportunity to load up? So when it comes to investing, though, people think the opposite of this. So if the price of something goes up, people then think it's somehow inherently more desirable. So they don't just think it's the same amount of desire that they have for that thing. They think that it is now, if the price of something has doubled, they now think it's twice as good, which it doesn't make any sense intellectually. It makes perfect sense emotionally, and I think this ties back into our thing of people hate to feel silly. So if the price of something goes up and then I buy more of it after the price has gone up, it feels like it's a justifiable thing to do. You go, this thing's going up in price, I've bought it, therefore the price should continue to go up. It's just an interesting, I think, insight that the way we approach anything else, the amount of times that we as financial advisors, we've heard people, every year it's a different thing. So like last year it was Bitcoin. People are ringing up after Bitcoin has gone from 10,000 Australian dollars to 50,000, ringing us saying, should I buy Bitcoin? It's bizarre. Like it makes no sense. Was accumulating Bitcoin ever part of your retirement planning strategy? If it was, then the price going up by 5 times should actually mean that's a smaller part of the puzzle. You'd have to think of it and go, well, they're just way more expensive now. Maybe that doesn't fit in. It's not how it works. The same thing happens with property prices. Property goes up, and people go, oh, geez, this thing's gone up. This has doubled in the last 6 years. Should I be buying some of that? Yeah, well. Unless we have a time machine and we can go back and buy it 6 years ago, we shouldn't do it. The same thing happens with companies. Every time there's the latest thing of Afterpay has gone up, 1,000% in 5 years, or GameStop's gone from $15 to $400 a share. Our instinct is to go, well, it's like it gets their attention, and we go, well, the price has gone up. We should climb into that. Now, occasionally you have people going, the price of things has gone down, should I buy some? But it seems like that's a lot rarer. Like, we talk about this where if NAB shares drop in half, or if company prices in general drop by a bit, we get some people asking us the question of, oh, well, prices are down 10-20%, should I buy some more? But it seems like that's much rarer than the other way around, which is that the price of things has gone up. And the avocado thing just sprung to mind to me. To as you say, it's maybe a flawed analogy, but when I go to the shop and avocados are $3 each, I go, oh, geez, I like avocado. I want to eat avocado, but do I like it enough to buy it at $3 per? Then I think about it and go, well, at $3, what else could I do with that? What else could I eat if I'm going to have breakfast every day and have avocado on toast? and never be able to afford to buy a house, as the saying goes. At $3 an avocado, that strategy of having avocado on toast every day has to be less appealing to me than a dollar avocado. If avocados go to $1, I'm inventing ways to use them. I'm having it breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm basically buying a heap of them and then going, well, now I'll think about how to use them up. It's a fundamentally different way to approach it, and I think in every other area of it, I think when it comes to consuming things or things that we are going to use or consume or whatever, people get it in both intellectually and emotionally. They get that I want to buy things on sale because I'm going to need that, or I'm going to need something to eat, or I'm going to need something to wear, or I'm going to need something to drive, or I'm going to need to consume that. If I can get it at 50% off, fantastic. Like that's good.
Yeah, look, it's always struck me as a strange phenomenon that if a clothes shop has a 50% off sale, people are attracted to that.
Yeah.
If the great companies of Australia and the world are 50% off, people run away from that.
Yeah.
Not only do they not want to, not only are they not attracted to buying that,
they don't.
If they hold it, they're compelled almost.
Yeah.
They're compelled. There's this nature in the side of them. They're compelled to actually get rid of it at 50% down.
Yeah.
So, recognise that as the price of something is dropping, the value is effectively going up.
Yeah.
You're getting more value out of them.
The value is going up and the risk is going down.
The risk is going down.
You risk that investment by buying it at a cheaper price.
There's plenty of things you could say. The sting in the tail has been taken out. Those types of things. Like if the great quality companies of Australia and the world have fallen by 57%, then you have to be closer to the bottom than you.
It's just a mathematical certainty. You have to be closer than when the price was higher.
As we've spoken about in just a recent podcast, good quality things cannot go to zero. So an avocado can't go to $0 effectively.
Again, the flawed analogy here is that I just read an article saying that people are just not picking them off the trees basically because they're so cheap. But yeah,
I'll find out. So I know all the ways to eat avocado. When you said before you'll invent ways to eat them, I know about these ways. My best mate, he's from Townsville. The way that life goes, he's actually became. He's ended up being an avocado farmer in New Zealand. So we get out of when we're allowed to. We couldn't go last year, but January of each year we usually get out of the heat of the North Queensland summer, fly over, take the whole family to the North Island of New Zealand where his avocado farm is, and what do we eat? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We eat avocados. So I know as much as there can be for a non avocado farmer or specialist. I know how to eat them, and I know how when they pick. It's a very fussy fruit.
I was about to say Jimmy would be coming up with it. He'd be putting them in his hair, and then I went, no, actually Jimmy's bald.
He's got no hair. I digress.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, it's always struck me as strange that people run and sorry, well, the point I was on before I digress there was good quality things cannot essentially go to zero.
Yeah.
So the great quality companies. I had a conversation with a man for the first time yesterday, a prospective client, and he actually told me that he changed his investment strategy during the coronavirus last year, and I was interested, of course, and I said, why did you do that? Why didn't you just write it out? He said, well, I saw $90,000 come off my super balance, and I thought this thing's going to zero.
Yeah,
and so and I said, when you look at what you're invested into, why did you think good quality companies could go to zero? And he said, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I said, look, I think it is. I think it is because your superannuation investments or your investments are reported on essentially one line of an Excel spreadsheet. You get the statement on one piece of paper usually.
Yeah. There's nothing tangible behind it.
There's nothing tangible behind it.
Yeah.
So I can understand. Look, I can understand where people think that it is a chance that things may go to zero. Yeah. I go back to the example of Woolworths because it's one of the most tangible ways to explain it. I think in 1925 they started with 5 supermarkets. In 2021 they have over 1,000 supermarkets plus plenty of other retail outlets. The price can only fall so far. The price of Woolworths today cannot get anywhere near what it was in 1925 when they had 5 assets. Now that they have 1,000 assets, it just can't. So as the price is falling, what happens is it becomes more valuable to someone, to investors. And sooner or later they're going to move in and snap it up. A la the $1 million property that falls to $700,000. It's not going to get to $0. Someone's going to snap it up. And what they're worried about, the person snapping up, is that they're worried, geez, if I don't snap this up now, someone's going to come in and cut my grass. So
I think the good, and it's probably a different analogy to throw in here, but I guess a couple of thoughts I had from what you just said there, Michael, is I think cars are a good example here. You list your car on carsales.com. You've got a used car that you want to sell. You list it on carsales.com. You don't get any bites. You reduce the price. You put it on for 10,000. You get no bites. You put it down to 9,000. You put it. At no stage do you think to yourself, geez, the price has gone from 10 to 9 to 8. At no stage do you think the car's worth $0. Like the car is worth something. There is it's a moving piece of machinery. Like it has to be worth something. Now, it might not be whether it's worth 10 or whether it's worth 8 or what you have to sell it for, or how badly you need to sell it, how quickly you need the money. All those sorts of things tie into where that price will eventually end up. But at no stage do you think it's worth. No stage do you go, the price has dropped, therefore it's going to 0. So that's the first thought I had there. And in fact, since COVID, with all the supply chain issues of new cars, I've had a lot of people that have sort of gone, geez, I bought a brand new Toyota last year. I can sell it for, the price has gone up. I can actually sell this and make money and go and buy something else cheaper. So people get it, even with whether it's with the buying, whether it's the selling of those hard real assets, people get that right all the time. They go, well, I bought this brand new Toyota for $80,000 because that's what it was worth to me. Someone actually wants to pay me $90,000 for this car now. Do I want it? Do I want it that badly, or should I sell it at that price? You never have it the other way around, where they don't buy it for 80 and then there's another global financial crisis and car prices drop, and an $80,000 car's worth 40. They don't go, geez, I bought the car for 80, now it's worth 40. Geez, it's dropped in price. Maybe I should sell it. They just go, no, well, I bought this car to drive it for the next 15 years. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to stick to the plan of what I was always going to do there. So,
you don't see anyone panic out of vehicles, out of houses, out of bananas, out of avocados. Like people are drawn to bargains in those things. People are drawn to those things. When there's a sale on for the best quality companies in Australia and the world, people flee. People flee.
And it's interesting,
by and large.
even with property, sometimes people get it wrong, but sometimes they also get it right in some ways. So separate to the question of whether you should own a property in residential property as your retirement savings asset, I would say no, but people often get that bit right, where their next door neighbour puts a house on the market and they go, oh, this house, my neighbour's bought this house for $500,000. Now they're having to move. They're going to sell it for $400,000. Geez, maybe I should buy it. So they do tend to get that right more often. And I think there's something about the fact that it's tangible and real that people can look at it and go, well, they bought it 2 years ago for $500,000. Now they're selling it for $400,000 because they're painted into a corner. It's still the same house. The asset is still the same. The tenant's still in there paying rent. The profit or the yield or whatever you want to talk about stays the same. The price is, the price isn't necessarily immaterial, but if I can buy that for less, that is a better investment at that price. So The other thing that I thought about, going to bring this back to the avocados, which is what it's all about, was that you touched on an interesting point when you're talking about your mate Jimmy the avocado farmer, is that I think people think that these sales or that price movements happen in a vacuum. So if avocados are $3 each, I'm annoyed because I've got to change my diet and because I don't want to pay $3 for an avocado. But Jimmy's ecstatic. He's selling his avocados for $3. So,
yeah.
And when the price drops from $3 to $1, Jimmy's upset thinking, hey, I'm getting less money for my avocados. Someone's on the other side of that trade. So, and this is, we've touched on this before, where you see news headlines going, NAB shares drop from $28 to $15. All that means is that someone was buying shares at $28 and someone was buying shares at $15. Now, the guy who's sold them, if he bought at $28 and sold at $15, he's probably really upset about that. But the guy who bought them off him is ecstatic. So all of these price movements, all of these sales that happen, they're only sales, they're only occurring when there is a buyer and a seller. So someone is benefiting from price movements either way. And so all of the things that you see about when assets drop by 40%, it's not just a bad thing. And I think people get that when it comes to, say, first home buyers. Everyone's talking about first home buyers are priced out of the market. If house prices were to drop by 30%, most people listening to this podcast would probably be pretty annoyed because for a lot of people they've got property. But if you're a first home buyer sitting at home, you'd be rubbing your hands together because you go, right, well, now I get to buy the thing that I wanted at that lower price. It's not a pure loss from anyone, any of these sort of things that happen.
No, and the way that the financial media reports it is that X amount of $1 billion was lost, or X amount of $1 trillion was lost, and you say, well, no, it wasn't lost. It didn't disappear.
Yeah.
Again, using your analogy, I bought a house for $1 million, and in an extreme, the price dropped by 50%, and I sold it for $500,000. Well,
no one came in and bulldozed half the house.
Well, no, they didn't, and the person that bought it is up 500. I'm down 500, but the money hasn't disappeared.
Yes, yeah.
It's certainly changed hands. It hasn't disappeared, and the way that's reported is that it's just been disappeared, like as if someone's raking up piles of cash and setting fire to it. So,
which I think was another one of your podcasts. I think that's a good point too, because like you said with your new client who watched his super balance drop by 9, and you've touched on this before. This was your idea of a better way to report people's superannuation balance would be to say, the dollar value, the temporary dollar value of your super was 600,000. You now get and you owned X amount of shares in this company, this company, this company, and this company. And then if you X-ray it in further, I know you hate the X-ray thing. If I X-rayed in further and went, I own X amount of shares of Woolworths. Woolworths consists of these brands. It has this many outlets of each of these things. It has, all of these. These are the profits that they're projected to make next year. All these sorts of things. When I then get my statement, after a 35% drop, and I go, geez, well, my 600,000's turned into 400,000, and you turn to page 2, and he goes, you still own X amount, this percentage of Woolworths. Woolworths still consists of all of these brands. It consists of all these outlets. It's got all these stores. It's got all this staff, running you through the checkout. In the extreme case, even if their projected profit is likely to be down next year, it's very unlikely that the reason that has dropped is because Woolworths' profits are projected to be down in 10 years' time, which is when I actually plan to retire. So,
no, I think it's a great idea, and I've long thought that for superannuation statements, they're not presented the way that they should be. Our local council presents statements better than superannuation funds. They tell me what my water use is in a bar graph compared to the average of my area. Yeah. So
it tells me what I'm paying for, what that consists of. Yeah,
it's one of those things. I think that's a great idea. Anything to make it a little bit more tangible. And I mean, for those listening, next time you do see volatility, just have a think about the tangibility of the companies that you're invested into. Yeah. The way that I like to think about it is when I go about my day, I think, okay, how many companies that I own have I
just
actually given money to today?
Yeah.
And it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. The Woolworth. I mean, we talked about this during COVID when with all the podcasts we recorded about this, was that we'd have a phone call with someone, and they'd be driving home from work saying, "Hey, what's going to happen with company prices? Hang on, I've got to go. I'm just about to pull into Woolworths and get something for dinner." So they're worried about the price of that company, but they're about to go and tap their card, and Woolworths is still making a profit. Woolworths is still open and functioning and selling goods and doing all those sorts of things. So, yeah, I think it's not the first time we've said this, but I think it's a really useful thing for people, is to make that as tangible as possible, and whatever that means to you, whatever the goods and services are that you go about and use in your day-to-day life, and in any other area where you do pick up, where you think about, everyone gets a bit of a thrill out of picking up a bargain, whether it's avocados for $1 or whether it's a car that you bought for $5,000 less than its book value, or whether it's a house that your neighbour bought for $100,000 more and you bought it off them for that's how we really need to think about accumulating our best and biggest companies that we need to own for retirement. It's the same thing. It's that when those prices go down, it's a fantastic buying opportunity. It's a sale. That's exactly what it is. Yeah,
look, absolutely. If you treat it like that and think about the tangibility of what you are actually invested into and how deep and diverse that is. I mean, we always talk about, you can be spread across the largest 1,700 companies, or the largest, couple of hundred in Australia and the largest 1,500 companies in the world, relatively cheaply and relatively easy, and that's such a deep and diversified thing that when the price drops, think of that as a bargain, akin to the price of avocados dropping, or akin to your favourite brand of clothing having 30% off.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Money Over 50 podcast with Money Over 50 financial advisors. We look forward to catching up again soon.